Yes, sir. Welcome back to the Dropping Dimes podcast. And for today's episode, we will be talking about the New York Knicks. Okay, so before we forget, please like and share the video and do not forget to subscribe. Yes, sir. And also to click on the notification bell right there so that you can follow all the episodes of the Dropping Dimes podcast by J.I. Dimes. Okay, so for today's episode, we'll be talking about the New York Knicks. Yes, the New York Knicks. Okay, so that will be the topic for today on our team preview series. Again, for those who want to follow the podcast, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search Dropping Dimes Podcast by J.I. Dimes. The podcast is also available on Anchor and Spotify. So there are certain episodes that are exclusively available on Anchor and Spotify, and then there are also episodes like this one, the team preview series, that are exclusively available on YouTube. Okay, so let's now start. Oops, not this one. Okay, this one. Yes, sir. So what are the main storylines for the New York Knicks? Special mention to big Knicks fan, Sir John Mangotara. Okay, so storyline, RJ Barrett. Is he going to be a superstar for them? Then they have a new coach. Thibs is back, and he'll be coaching the Knicks. They drafted Obi Toppin in the 2020 draft and also acquired another first-round pick in Immanuel Quickley. Regarded as the fastest guard in the draft. Now, how will these young players like Toppin and Quickley blend with mainstays like Mitchell Robinson, Frank Ntilikina? First, Mitchell Robinson was a former second-round pick, turned out to be really big for the Knicks. Ntilikina and DSJ, 8th and 9th, respectively, during the 2017 draft, but we haven't really seen them explode into the scene yet. They also got veteran Nerlens Noel and also added Austin Rivers. So those are the main storylines for the New York Knicks. Of course, do not forget about Kevin Knox as well. Almost forgot about him. Of course, he was a 2018 lottery pick. Then 2019 lottery pick RJ Barrett as well. Okay. So these are the things that we need to remember about what the Knicks did last year. They were 12th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 21-45. They ended the season with a win against the Atlanta Hawks. They won 136-131. Coach David Fisdale got fired. Interim coach Mike Miller did not really last long as he was replaced by Tom Thibodeau. Of course, the main executive now for the Knicks is former agent of CAA Leon Rose. The numbers don't look good for the Knicks. They were only 29th in scoring. Opposition points per game, they were decent, 18. Their pace, not so good for a young team. They were 26. Their offensive rating was 28th in the league, and their defensive rating was 23rd. They were expected. The only good news, though, for the Knicks, their expected win-loss last year was 20-46. Well, they were, if you want to look at it that way, they exceeded expectations because they went 21-45. Now, what's the main problem? Of course, New Yorkers really love basketball. That's why they still keep on watching the Knicks. They were still 9th in attendance But I think the downside of that is, I think that's the reason why the team is not improving. I think people should stop watching the Knicks when they're losing so that they can start making the team better. At least they're moving towards the right direction now with Leon Rose at the helm. So here is their schedule. They'll be playing 3 preseason games. So that's 2 against Detroit at the Little Caesars Arena, and then they'll play a home game against the Cleveland Cavaliers at Madison Square Garden. That will be their last preseason game. So these are the key additions for the Knicks. They added Austin Rivers. They also added Nerlens Noel. Former Warriors like Alec Burks, Jacob Evans, Omari Spellman. And then they have a reclamation project here in Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, the second pick in the 2012 draft. Yes. And then Obi Toppin was their lottery pick. They added also Immanuel Quickley in a first round pick. And please do not sleep on my man, Miles Powell. He's a big steal here. Went undrafted, and I still cannot believe this kid went undrafted. Okay, so let's now go to their key returning players. So, of course, the Knicks, they'll have RJ Barrett, Kevin Knox, Mitchell Robinson. That's basically their young core right there. Julius Randle, the former lottery pick in 2014. Well, he played well. He signed a big contract for them. Alfred Payton got waived, but then got signed back up again. Now they have a lot of guards here. Payton, and then they're waiting on Frank Ntilikina and Dennis Smith Jr. to kind of figure out, or to just regain their confidence. 2 lottery picks, but have been busts thus far. Next, let's go to their team stats. Okay, so these are the team stats for the Knicks. Again, the numbers do not really favor them. They were only 29th in points. When it comes to their shooting, 25th. Field goal percentage, 27th, and 3-point percentage. So there's really nothing to expect when you're playing that way. The only thing that was going for them, because they kept on missing shots, so that's why they ended up number 1 in offensive rebounding. I don't know if I'll be happy with that though, but at least they got something, right? They were 27th in assists, 17th in steals, and in blocks as well. Now let's look at their defense. Their defense was kind of decent. 18th when it comes to their opponent's points per game. And then, teams also had a hard time rebounding against them, so that's good. And then when it comes to the 3-point percentage, it was so easy shooting threes against them. Even though when it comes to the field goal percentage, they were better. They were 17th. So they obviously need to work on guarding the 3. Then when it comes to their advanced stats, defensive rating, 23rd. Offensive rating, 28th. So no wonder why they only won 21 games. But again, in spite of all these, bad seasons for the past, 20 years, they had those mellow years, right? Carmelo Anthony years, and then still 9th in attendance, for a team that wasn't really winning. That's just how much New Yorkers love their basketball. So let's now go to by the way, thank you to basketballreference.com for all the stats and updated stats. Basketballreference.com is the way to go. Now let's go to the individual stats. there. So let's focus on the guys that they still have. Okay, so Julius Randle, not bad, 19 and a half points, 9.7 rebounds. Of course, people would say, well, he was playing on a very bad team, so what's the point? Yeah, but at least he still produced numbers, right? Marcus Morris was averaging 19.6 and 5.4 for them before he got moved to the Clippers. RJ Barrett, decent rookie year, but disappointing because everyone thought he would, you know, when RJ Barrett, way back in high school, always had the superstar tag on him. So for him to just average 14 and 5 and for Zion and Ja to just the separation is like so much. And then Alfred Payton, another, well, he actually had a decent year. 10 points, 5 boards, 7 assists. That's not bad. 1.6 steals for Alfred Payton. Mo Harkless is no longer with them. They still have Reggie Bullock. Bobby Portis no longer with them. Now let's go to Mitchell Robinson. He averaged 9.7 points and 7 boards. And also 2 blocks and shot 74%. Of course, are still hoping that Robinson will continue developing. Frank Ntilikina and Kevin Knox. Oh my goodness. 6 points per game for both of them. Not good. Dennis Smith Jr. What the hell happened, man? 5.5. Played 34 games. He's lost it, and he's lost all confidence. And yeah, it would be nice to see Dennis Smith Jr. regain some of his mojo back, because he's obviously lost a lot of that confidence, together with Kevin Knox and Frank Ntilikina as well. It's like these guys just lost it, right? So I hope they would have a better year. I just don't know how they can do that with Tibbs, who's very hard on young players as well. So now let's go to the thoughts and predictions. To Sir John Mangotara, he's one of my very supportive followers. I still hope that even after this, he will still be following the podcast. Even if I'll be very straightforward in saying that the Knicks, I don't know, man. Even if they brought in Tibbs, this is just like the Kings, man. Like these the Knicks. The only thing at least going well for them, is the fact that at least they're moving into the right direction. Right, slowly taking these baby steps towards moving into the right direction. Now, will they make the playoffs? I don't see that happening. They had a 21 win season last season. It's not like Obi Toppin, the New Yorker kid, the kid from Dayton, and he loves New York, etc. because he's from New York, proud to be a New Yorker, etc. And Immanuel Quickley, yes, they have potential to be good players, good young players, but it's not like Michael Kidd Gilchrist turned out to be the player that we thought he would be. It's not like Austin Rivers became the 20-point scorer that we thought he would be. They have a lot of these young players now who are now vets, who turn out to be more of role players rather than star players. Their young players didn't develop well. Kevin Knox, Frank Ntilikina, Dennis Smith Jr., RJ Barrett struggled. So I'm worried. I'm really worried about it, especially because Tibbs is not a guy who develops young players. What he's known for, yes, he's known for his hard, defensive minded approach. But if you even when you look back, it's like, who are the young guys that Tibbs developed anyway? The only guy that I can recall is Jimmy Butler, but because Jimmy Butler was just different, man. He ain't like these young guys. I don't know how that's gonna work. So I'm really worried for them. I don't want to see the growth of these young players get stunted because of the way Tibbs approaches the game and the way these players should be developed first, right? You know what I mean? So, yeah, it would be interesting to see the Knicks, but I don't see them winning more than more than 22 games. I'm sorry, Sir John Murr, but I just don't see it. 21 wins last season. Maybe I'll give it, because because I just love the honesty of Obi Toppin. Let's give them 24 wins this coming season. Yes, sir. 24 wins for the New York Knicks. So that's what I think. And I don't really see them. The best case scenario, if let's say all of a sudden Michael Kidd Gilchrist and Austin Rivers and all of these guys, and then their young players just boom all of a sudden, then maybe, who knows, maybe the Knicks can make it to the 8th seed, right? But in all likelihood, I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. The Knicks should just stay the course, continue building, continue accumulating young players, but I hope they would also be invested in developing these young players and not just getting them. They have to develop these young players, not ruin their confidence. Let them develop, for crying out loud. So I hope that's what's going to happen for them, so that we will see New York basketball not just as a mere, well, it's nice to be in New York kind of thing, but it's because they're actually winning some basketball games as well. Okay. So now some shoutouts, quick shoutouts to some of those people who've been, following our stories on Facebook, on Instagram. From the last time that I checked, that was, I think, Raven Galicia, following. And then my former classmate, Mira Boyles, also following. And then, who else? Yeah, of course, Sir John Mangotara, who's a big Knicks fan. I still hope that even after this episode, he will still be following the podcast. So again, thank you to these people who have been very supportive of the podcast, both in Spotify. Of course, my main man, Kevin Cruz, former classmate, Miguel Estepa. These guys, they've been watching and, showing some support as well. Okay. So let's now go to this one. So again, before we end the episode, if you like the episode, please like and share. Okay. And then once we're done, feel free to comment your thoughts and how we can improve the videos. Again, please also catch the other exclusive episodes on Spotify, like the Derrick Rose episode, the loyalty episode. And then please do not forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell so you will always be updated whenever we have new episodes on the channel. Okay, so with that, we'll see you on the next episode of the Dropping Dimes podcast. This is J.I. Dimes. Keep safe, everyone.